With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. Super excited. Today, I've got director Cat Hostick with me. So welcome, Cat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, I was really excited to talk with. I love the behind the camera stuff. I think that's so interesting, and it's not easy to do. Not everybody goes there. Yeah. So tell me this. Let's start this way. What got you into the entertainment business? Why did you choose directing over acting, or have you done some acting and then got into directing?
Yeah, so I started more as an actress from a young age. I always knew that I wanted to create films and stuff like that, and I have my little camcorder and made some pretty, whatever short films when I was like 7 or 8 or whatever. But yeah, but I always knew I wanted to do this, and so I really did start as an actress, and I transitioned probably in my early 20s to directing.
Yeah. What made you kind of do that transition? Did you just kind of, were you interested from where you kind of done it when you were growing up, or what, kind of led to that?
I think it was a couple things. I remember just like I always did want to direct something, and I didn't really feel 100% fulfilled with just acting. And you're always kind of given, sometimes you don't always get the role that you want to do, or you don't always get the story that you want to tell. And I just kind of wanted to take that into my own hands and create my own films, whether I was acting in them or I was directing. So that's kind of how I started. I started with shorts, and then I just really fell in love with directing and started doing music videos, and then I got into features, and then I got into television. Obviously there's a lot of steps in between that, but that was kind of the main course.
Yeah, I've talked to some different directors, and it seems like music videos is that kind of leads to the bigger stuff at some point. It's like a good training ground for movies and TV shows.
Yeah, definitely. I think it allows you to figure out kind of what your style is, and test your creative chops a bit. I think that music videos are completely different than television or
Sure.
movies, obviously in many ways. But I think that in television, I think if you direct music videos for really big artists, they generally give opportunities to directors who have worked with really big artists, even though the mediums are not that similar. So
That kind of works with everything. It's always about who you know.
for sure.
At least when you're starting out.
Yeah, that's the business.
Yeah. When you were in high school, did you do theater?
I did a little bit of theater, yeah. I did want to do the on-camera acting stuff in high school. I went to a private school kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it wasn't really convenient for me to do auditions and things like that. Now we live in a self-tape culture. Everyone does, you record your tapes at home and send them to your agent, who sends them to the casting
No,
director.
COVID.
Now, yeah, because of COVID, but now that wasn't a thing back then, so I couldn't. And my parents also didn't really know how to get me into the industry. They kind of were against it. I always wanted to do it from a young age and doing theater, but they're like, well, it's kind of like royalty and you're born into it, so it's probably not really a shot for you. And it's not that they didn't want to support me, I just think they didn't know how, and they didn't know enough about it.
Don't you think most parents worry when their kid says, I want to get into the entertainment business? Because it's a hard business.
It's a really hard business. I would be a bit scared of my kid wanting to get into the entertainment business, but yeah, you know what? My parents were really against it, and then there was a turning point. I used to do some assistant directing, and I worked on, some bigger shows, and I was working on a show called Rain, a CW show, and I was working with her, one of her favorite actresses, Megan Follows, and after that she respected me and was like, okay, go be in the industry. So
Rain's a pretty good show. It's a CW show, right?
yeah.
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 CW has that formula where it's very angsty and You know, kind of, it's got some romance in there, but it always, you know, everybody's always just very kind of, you know, I always like there's a lot of drama, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But Rain's a good show. Yeah, I'll watch that. That was pretty good. And if I remember right, you did a show called Rogue too, did some assistant directing.
I did, yeah. And this was when I was just before I started directing. That's when I was doing some of this ADing. Yeah, I worked on Rogue. I think Sean Pillar, who is a friend of mine, he was directing that episode that I was working on that day. I think I only did one episode on that. I was working on it. It's like a deal.
Yeah. My son that I was telling you about before, one of his favorite books is the 11/23/63. And I think you did a little work on that too.
I did, yeah, with James Franco. I did work on that one as well. Yeah.
I mean, those are some pretty big projects.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, like it's assistant directing and you know, not a first, it's lower position, but you got to start somewhere, right? So
that's right. Yeah. So for the assistant director, like me not knowing anything, when I think assistant director, it's the one where the director yells something and he repeats it or she repeats it and yells it louder. But what does an assistant director actually do?
Well, there's tiers of assistant directing. So there's a first assistant director, which is a really big position. They deal with scheduling and they run the floor essentially. So yeah, they're yelling stuff on the floor, trying to keep stuff in order, trying to keep you on time. You know, the third AD maybe will wrangle background and hand out walkies and deal with cast. A fourth AD is like a trailer AD, which is stuff kind of like I did. You would work the trailers and deal with the actors and get them hair and makeup. And
see, that sounds like the stressful one.
Yeah, I've definitely heard some stories. I think a lot of the actors are great. I think some of them are a challenge.
I'm probably wrong, but did you do an episode of Ransom, like actually appear on camera?
I did, yeah. I went and shot.
I thought that was you in an episode. That's my strange superpower as I can see it, but I wasn't 100%. So I was like, well, I asked.
Really? That's funny. Yeah. Make an appearance in an episode. Yeah, it was fun. That was a good trip. It was a nice little time in Budapest. I'd never been before, and
nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good one to work on.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Like if you're guest starring on an episode or getting to work on an episode, but you get to fly somewhere.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Totally. Yeah,
that's not too bad. So what was your first director position, or what show was your first directing?
First television show?
Or movie?
Well, my first movie, that was a movie called The Meaning of Life, starring Tyler Shaw. He's a Sony signed pop singer.
Yeah.
That was a while ago now. Wow. Yeah. I don't know how many years ago. I don't want to date myself.
I saw an interview where you were talking about that, but it was just coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a while ago now. My first television show, though, I'm really hung up on it because I'm trying to remember what it was. I feel like it was called If I Should Die, which was a Discovery show, and it was a doc.
I was gonna say it sounds like maybe a Lifetime movie, but okay, Discovery
Actually, it does sound like a Lifetime movie. No, it was. There was a really popular show called Fear Thy Neighbor. It's about neighbors who want to kill each other essentially, and the showrunner of that, it was his show. It only went one season. I thought it would go more seasons, but it turned out pretty well. It was just the stories were so hard to get. There was a problem with that, so they couldn't really get more stories for season 2. So that was my first start. Yeah.
What's that like when it's your first kind of, you're in charge role? I mean, that's got to be nerve-wracking. And you're fairly young with that. That has to be kind of like, I'm assuming you're directing people that of all ages.
Yeah, it's tough. And to be honest, it's still tough because I look younger than I am. Um, I'm a
That's a
little
good thing.
Is it? I mean, it is. I think it's good. It's not so good for directing though. There really is kind of like an ageism thing that I deal with for sure. And it sucks because I've done a lot of stuff. Like I've directed over I don't even know now, like 25, 30
Yeah,
episodes,
it's a bunch.
a lot, and I've done 3 features and I've done lots of stuff, but just because of the way I look, I kind of get I don't want to say discriminated against sometimes, but I think the first time I meet somebody on set, people definitely said comments. It's a bit jarring for them, but then when I start working with them, they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." But it always takes a
Yeah,
minute.
I mean, when you were first starting, if it were me, I would be scared to death to make a mistake because of that. You'd be like, well, they're going to discount me as soon as I make a little minor mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of confidence. I never worried about that stuff. It's so weird. Like I've never worried about getting fired or anything like that. I think that they knew it was my first one. They knew what they were getting into by bringing me on, right?
Right.
It's your first one. But I've also, at that point, I think I'd already done 3 feature films and I had run, I helped like co-run a production company. I've done lots of stuff. So I'm like, it's not my first day on set. There's some directors who've only directed a music video and they get thrown on to like HBO Max shows and they've done like nothing because they know someone. And I'm just like, I wouldn't want to be that person right now. Like that's pressure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's you're right. That's a lot of pressure. A little different if they've seen some of your work and they're an admirer and then they bring you on to a show.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So your new one is Urban Legend or
Yeah,
Legends?
Urban Legend. Yeah, it's at first I was calling it Urban Legend. It's Urban Legend.
Urban Legend. Singular.
Yes.
Is it kind of like an anthology show?
It is. It's a scripted anthology series and it's executive produced by Eli Roth. Eli Roth is a master of horror. He did
Yeah.
movies like Cabin Fever, Green Inferno, Hostel.
Oh,
So
that guy.
yeah, so that guy. Yeah, so my favorite horror films growing up. So it's pretty cool to get to work with him on this.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't the first time you've worked with him. You did a little something else with him at some point.
Yeah, I've actually done a bunch of his shows now. So there was a couple uh docudrama shows that we did. Ghost Room My Life was one of them, and My Possessed Pet. And then now we're the scripted shows Haunted Museum, which is on to season 2. I just shot that a couple weeks ago. And Urban Legend is the new scripted series that has just been released.
Yeah. Well, he obviously has some confidence in you. He keeps bringing you onto his shows.
He is really, really good to me and has been a really big supporter. I absolutely love him. So, yeah.
So I'm assuming with a name like Urban Legend, we're talking about some of these urban legends that everybody hears about. Is there specific episodes that you're working on?
Yeah, so they've been released on Discovery Plus. They're gonna come out soon on CTV Sci-Fi in Canada.
Yeah.
But my episodes were called Creep in the Walls and The Haunted Shower.
Oh, I don't like the sound of either one of
Definitely creepy. The Providence is super creepy, like with the actual urban legends are where they originated. Some of the stories are just so crazy. When I read them, I was like, "What?" Like Creep in the Walls. There was an actual guy living in somebody's wall and trying, like, messing with them, making them believe that it was the dead mother trying to communicate with them. It just
What would cause somebody to do that?
a mental illness, but I just it's just like the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And it's not even just one story. There's like multiple stories of people living in people's houses and they don't even know, like in their attics and stuff like this. So I just find it
That
crazy.
kind of terrifies me a little bit.
It is, yeah, I know. Like sometimes I hear things in my attic, and I'm like, that's a squirrel, right?
Yeah, it has to be a squirrel. Not going to check though.
Yeah, yeah.
Were
Yeah.
you a horror fan growing up?
I was a horror fan. I think compared to most horror directors, I don't think I'm as much of a super fan. I think I approach the genre a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Um, because again, I think that, most horror directors that I talk to, they're like walking encyclopedias. They've seen every single horror movie. They can quote every horror movie, every detail, every little thing. While I've seen a lot of movies and loved them, I'm not like that. For me, I think because I'm also an actress, I operate more like emotionally in terms of my work and how
Yeah.
I approach it. And I think, um, I was saying I have this weird thing that I do where I'm like addicted to fear. I imagine on a daily basis really messed up, terrifying scenarios and how I would get myself out of them. It's a weird thing that I do. And so I have this weird fear addiction, and I feel because I have that, I feel like I know what an audience would want because I think a lot of horror fans
Yeah.
go with thrills or because they want to be scared of all these things. So I just feel like I know how to express it through this medium very well for this genre. So my approach is like I just think a little bit different.
Yeah. I actually kind of like that. So you're using this weird thing in your job. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not that weird. I think a lot of us do that on occasion, but if
Mhm.
you're doing it daily, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah,
I'm a big chicken though.
I think that it's necessary. I think that's why I don't know everyone, but I think a lot of people gravitate towards horror because their survival brain. It's like why we stop and look at a car crash. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, what happened here? How can I prevent that from happening to me so I don't die? It's
Yeah.
like, I think that's sometimes why people want to watch horror movies. You want to live vicariously through this character, go through this terrifying experience, and figure out how you can get out of it in a safe way. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
That's why people yell at the screen when they're watching. You
Yeah.
know? No, I like that. So when you're directing and your first day on set for an episode or for a movie or whatever it is, what do you do? How do you get start? How do you know where to start?
For like first day in a job, like first day in prep. Um,
Yeah, like how do you like? I think that would be the hardest part for me is just knowing where do you start because it's such those things are such big projects.
yeah, I mean, I think it just starts with, I think horror and thriller, it can be in action. There's a lot of elements that can be scary right off the bat. It all starts with reading the script,
Yeah,
and then things really start to click for me. Like I guess I have some nerves off the top until I've seen locations. Until I've seen the locations and have them booked, then everything just starts clicking for me and I have answers. Um,
yeah,
I just had a scenario where I was on a show and we ended up doing the location scout really late. Usually you do it your first or second day of prep. You get 2 weeks to prepare for your episode.
right.
I did mine the last week, a couple days leading up to shooting. So I had like no answers. I was terrified. I'm like, I can't even start to prep until I have my locations in a weird way. So that's for me the biggest element is once I have that, I can start to visualize a bit better and things start to really click and I can shot
Yeah.
list.
Have you ever acted in something that you're also directing?
Yes. And I don't want to do it again. And I say that every single time. And then I do it. I just created a series called Polly is the New Monogamy. It's a comedy. And I did. I acted in it, and it's 6 episodes, 25 minutes each. It's a lot. And I also directed it. And I've done it before a couple times in shorts.
Yeah.
Think I did like a little cameo in a feature or something, but I really don't have a desire to do it. I feel like I did it this time out of more necessity, I really don't want to do it again. I think that even if you're a brilliant actor and director, I always think that you need a director, because how as an actor can you be how do I put it? How can you be present and inside your body,
Right.
but then also observing at the same time outside of yourself? Like
Yeah, it'd be distracting, I think.
it's very distracting. You can't. I feel like you can't give 100%. What? Oh, who was it? One time I asked Ewan McGregor. I saw one of his films at TIFF, and I asked him. I was like, how do you do that?" He's like, "It's easy." He's just, yeah. He's just like, I forget what he said. It was the most confident answer, and he was just like, "I don't know. It's not a big deal. I know what I'm doing." And da 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 da. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ewan
Yeah,
McGregor.
yeah. So is Kat the director hard on Kat the actress?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Never let myself off the hook.
Well, how does that work when you're working, when you're in a scene? Is that when like an assistant director would kind of run the directing side of it? Or are
Wait,
you actually doing both? If you're acting in a scene, do you bring somebody else to kind of run through the directing part of it, or are you doing both while you're
no, no,
acting?
no. I'm doing both. It
Yeah.
depends on the project, like sometimes if you have a really good first AD, even though they're not directors and their job is very different, um, like I had an AD who was also an actor for a project, and he actually gave really good notes. He used to be the who was he? The Blue Ranger. He was a Power Ranger.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, like I trusted his notes. He'd give me notes sometimes, but a lot of the times I'm like, no, I know the story really well. This is what I want to do, and I'll just do it. But it depends. It depends on the scenario. The bottom
Yeah.
line is, I don't love doing it, and I always say I'm not going to do it, and I do it again.
Well, did you write this show that you were acting and directing in?
I did, yeah, yeah, and that's part
A
of the.
lot of hats.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and again, it's just kind of the way the project came together. I really don't love doing that. And season 2, I absolutely won't do that. I'll direct the pilot, or the first episode of season 2, and then different directors. Yeah, because I just don't.
Yeah.
It's
So where can we watch that one?
it's not currently out yet. I can't say too much about it
Mhm.
at the moment. But maybe you'll come back and I can talk about it.
You have to come back. Yeah, you have to come back when that one comes out, because that
Yeah.
sounds like something that would be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. It's gonna be
Yeah. See, because I know if you wrote it, then you have to pitch it to somebody. It's not like that stuff just magically happens.
yeah, yeah. It's been in front of some pretty big people. It's been a pretty cool experience so far.
Oh yeah, you got to come back for that one. Okay. I won't try to get you in trouble by tripping you.
I know, I wish I could say, but
Yeah, that's exciting though.
yeah.
Is that your first time writing something, or have you always written?
I've always written, but you know what? I've I've written 2 features that I've directed. I wrote that series. I've written some short films, but I actually don't want to be a writer, and it's not my forte. It's not my thing. I really do love being a director, and I'd rather take someone else's work and just interpret that, because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of brilliant writers out there. They're just so detailed and so good at what they do, and I just, yeah, I've just kind of more done out of necessity, but there's certain things that I will write that I think that's my lane. I think
Yeah.
that the comedy I just wrote, I think that's my lane, and it's just easier for me and I enjoy more. So,
Is there, from the acting side, is there a genre that you would like to do?
that's a good question. I don't think there's any particular genre. I think it really just depends on the role. It just depends on the
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd be that way too. It's just a matter of whether or not the role fit and it was a good role, I think.
It's just like what speaks to you, right? It's like sometimes it's even like when I'm looking for scripts to direct or something. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm looking for, and I'll say I'll pass on a script, and they're like, "Well, can you give me notes or what's wrong or what are you looking for?" I don't really have an answer. It's like just when something just speaks to you. It's just
Yeah.
yeah. So it's one of those.
Yeah. How do you treat that? Do you treat your directing career separate from your acting career, or is it all just the same?
No. Completely different
Yeah.
agents, different,
Yeah, that's exhausting.
I know. My manager, my acting agent, my directing agent. It's all different, and for the most part, those two teams don't really communicate. And yeah, I'd say my directing career, it's really more horror based, and it has been for the last couple of years. Like it is really genre based, I would say, whereas my acting career isn't that. So
Right. Right. Well, so from the directing side, is there somewhere you're leading to or trying to get to? Like, are you going to stay with television, or do you want to do like a big budget horror movie?
I would absolutely love to do a big budget horror movie. I would love to do one that I'd love to collaborate with him in some way on a feature. Uh, yeah, and I do have a horror script that I want to get made at some point. But yeah, I
Does
think
it
that's
have people living in the walls?
it does not. But it could.
Good.
It could. Yeah, not this one. And I want to be in television, of course. I want to keep doing TV. I really do like TV. I also like features. They're different mediums, but they're both long format. I
Yeah.
enjoy. Yeah, I do. I would like to start doing more action.
Oh
Just
yeah.
I do have a bit of a stunts background, and I've always loved action, and I would just like to, yeah, kind of start to move a little bit in that direction. So
How did you get into stunts?
I was a gymnast when I was younger. I competed provincially and did quite well, and I didn't get into stunts on purpose. I would sometimes just take courses and things like that. As an actor, you take different courses, but I happen to be, I'll tell you, I happen to be ADing on Orphan Black, which
Oh,
is
it's a good
Tatiana.
show.
Yeah. And the stunt coordinator, he came up to me and he was like, "Are you a dancer or do you stunts?" And I'm just like, "No, I was a gymnast." And he was like, "Are you available Monday?" And he's like, "Can you do this?" I was like, "What's going on?" Like, and he was just like, I need someone because Tatiana's double's not available." Um,
Cool.
yeah, so he kind of took me aside and just seeing what I can do, kind of thing. And so I ended up doing some stunt double stuff for her. And then I was actually asked to do
Well, I've probably seen you there.
probably singing. And then I was asked to do Elliot Page's double stuff as well on Umbrella Academy. But at the time I was directing a movie and I wasn't available, and I'm like,
Oh,
like
that's the point. I'm a big comic book guy, and I told everybody while I was reading these comics, like, these comics are really good. You should check them. Nobody would check them out. And then it became a show. And now they were coming back to me and like, have you seen this? It's based on a comic. I'm like, are you kidding me?
that's hilarious. What are some other comics that you like that have not been made into a show yet?
Ooh, see, that's a pretty good question. I need to find you some. Then you can.
Yeah, find me something. This is
Okay,
it.
I'll find you some. That's good. When I was in college. That's how I got myself through college. I had a couple of comic book stores, and it
Oh,
was the best time ever. But not, like for a single college guy, pretty good, pretty good. Once I got married and started having kids, not the best way to support a family.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I kind of, but I still have the love for that. But yes, okay, I can. That's a good homework assignment for
Have to let me know. I did for a long time. I looked for a really strong IP that was a comic, and I could not find anything because these companies would just they own everything. But you probably know like
I can
every.
find you. I'll find you some good independent stuff.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. Like there's some good stuff out there that's not straight superhero stuff.
Yeah.
It's just good stories.
Perfect.
All right, I feel like I got a homework assignment. I'm excited about that. I'll team up with my son, the librarian. Then I've because that's what he takes. Like he'll buy whatever interests him. He'll buy comic book wise, and he'll read it. But then when he's done reading it, he just donates it to the library. And then, and I was like, well, don't you want to? Because I was a collector. I was like, don't you want to keep that? You collect that stuff. He's like, no, I want to give other kids that may not be able to afford to buy it a chance to read this stuff. And I was like, well, great.
You raised such a good boy.
I don't know. I'll give it to his mother. I don't know that came from me. I would be like, yeah, I hope they figure out a way to get it, but I'm keeping my stuff.
That's really sweet. Does he read other material as well, or just straight comics?
He's a big Stephen King fan. He's a terrific writer. Like I'm biased, but he writes, and I'm like, I'm reading this. He sends me everything he writes. If whether it's just a little thing or if it's a big book, and I'm like, this, I would watch this, I would read this, like I would buy it off a rack. I keep telling him, I'm like, one of these days somebody's gonna pick that stuff up.
Wow. Does he write scripts or he writes novels?
He's tried his hand at both. His issue is he has trouble finishing. Like he gets fired up, he'll write 150 pages, and I'm like, this is really good. Where's the story going? And he's like, oh, I'm working on something else. So he's got, and I'm just hopeful at some point he'll come around to it.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, he does some script stuff, and I don't know a ton about that stuff, but looking at him, like, that's pretty good. He gave me the it's about a minute a page. You gotta have pages about a minute of screen time. I'm like, okay, all right, I guess that makes sense.
He's a great writer. I mean, you interview a lot of people in the industry, so everyone's always looking for.
That's it. I keep telling him that. I'm like, just keep plugging away at it, because you never know. You write something, and I get it. Maybe at some point you hit a wall. I said, just hang on to it. At some point you'll circle back. That's a lot of people do that, and then you never know. You come across the right person, or I come across the right person, and there you go.
It's true. It's very true.
See, I'm going to play him this clip because I'm telling him that all the time. He's like, If you weren't in entertainment, what would you be doing?
Oh, such a great question. There's two. There's multiple things. Does that have to be realistic, or like, what would I do?
No, just what would you like to do?
I've always wanted to work with animals in some way. So being a vet, it's harder than being a doctor, but
it's pretty hard.
Yeah. So I was never good at math. I was never good at those things. So that kind of went down the drain pretty quickly. But I love it. I would love to just do some kind of charity, like saving animals or doing something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is I'd probably work in healthcare, specifically with women, and trying to focus on reproductive health or mystery illnesses with women's health.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Also probably heavy in the science and math departments.
That is why I am not doing it.
Yeah, but that's pretty well. Maybe at some point you'll write a story with something.
Well, yeah, I'm currently, there's a documentary in the works, kind of based on health. So that's one thing I can do. I can do that.
Yeah. I think that's I mean, that's pretty great. Yeah, I never would have. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Definitely a dog person. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I'm not big. I don't really want pets of my own. I've had them in the past, but it just hurts too much. It's too much. I have such a hard time with that. But my son, big dog guy, but my daughter, cat person.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm allergic. Like, I like cats, but I'm so allergic.
That's so Get an allergy. You can't even
Oh my
entertain.
gosh.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I know we got to wrap up, but I'll tell you this quick story. When when my wife and I first started dating, I took her to I had a high school buddy that was having a New Year's Eve party. We'd probably been going out a couple of weeks. And we were there, I don't know, maybe an hour. And I mean, my eyes started swelling up and my nose started running. I'm like, what is happening? I'm looking around. There's no cat, nothing. And I'm sitting on this couch, and the biggest cat I've ever seen just walked right back behind me and just brushed up against my neck and stuff. So I'm just, I don't want to ruin the evening. So I'm just taking Benadryl, like half a dozen of
Oh
them,
no.
just pounding Benadryl. And finally, it just got to the point. I'm like, we got to go. We didn't make it to midnight. I was like, we got to go. We'll go back to my house, and we'll just, we'll watch the ball drop from there. I was like, I got to get out here. So we go back, and I've had like 6 Benadryl. So it's 10 o'clock, and I was out. I called out.
6 Benadryl. That's like.
I mean, I was out. I don't snore, but I was snoring then. I was just out. So yeah, so she watched the ball drop, with me just passed out beside her, and for some reason stuck around. I'm like, why didn't you get out at that point? That was your chance.
That's so funny. I can't imagine having an allergy like that. A director friend of mine, he has a what is it? A feather allergy, which is
Oh
like
wow.
everything. And he's a director. Every single person on set here anywhere or wherever it's cold wears Canada Goose jackets and down jackets because you're outside for 12 hours. So I don't know. He just anytime he's around one of those jackets or even pillows in a hotel or anything, he just
It's miserable.
sucks. Yeah, I feel for you.
Yeah. It's miserable. So now my daughter's got kids of her own, so I'm wanting to go over and see them and stuff. But I have to be very,
right.
conscious. As soon as I have any trouble, I'm like, I'm out. I gotta go.
Oh man.
They come to my house.
There's I just remembered this editor I work with, he said his I think they like have a cat because the wife really wants the cat, and he has to take Benadryl every single day, an allergy pill every day.
See, that's silly.
That's like 10 years. I'm like,
Just get a dog.
yeah, like why do you need a cat? I would not take like imagine you're just permanently tired, or I'm sure there's allergy medication that's not drowsy, but still.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, over the years, I've developed a pretty good tolerance for Benadryl. Yeah. It doesn't hit me very hard. I mean, it still helps, but I don't get sleepy.
Yeah.
Usually with it. Thank goodness. No repeat New Year's Eve horrors.
Yeah.
Well, Kat, thank you so much. This has been just a blast. I knew it would be. I'm a real admirer of your work. I think you do such a good job, and I'm excited about. We just got Discovery Plus. I'm very excited about checking this show out.
Thank you. Enjoy. They have some really great shows.
Yeah, we need to get you to. We need one with a West Virginia twist, like the Flatwoods Monster or something.
Yeah, like I've done a story in West Virginia on one of the shows on.
We got all kinds of urban legends here.
Do you?
Yeah, apparently.
You should have talked about that.
Flatwoods Monster's the one. You'll have to look that one up. It looks like it almost looks like a candle person. It's very weird. Flatwoods Monster. Look that one up.
Flatwoods Monster.
Yeah, and then we've got Mothman.
Oh, you're Mothman?
Yeah. Mothman. We have the Mothman Festival every year. It's about an hour away from us.
Oh, you guys are some crazy urban legends. That's awesome.
So yeah, but doesn't every state or province, they all have their stuff.
Sure. Well, you never know. We might end up making one of them. So.
Yeah. Come out to West Virginia. We'll put you up in the studio.
Awesome.
You'll have a place to stay. Now, so a couple of things, Kat, before we officially wrap up. Anything else you're working on that we kind of keep an eye out?
Well, I just did another one of Eli Roth's shows called Haunted Museum, which is also on Discovery Plus season 2. So it will not be out until 2023, but you can keep an eye on that one. I'm very excited for those episodes. They're really great. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want anything to do with the haunted museum either. Seems like there's a lot of things that could go wrong in a museum.
Many things.
Yeah. So are you on social media, and where can we find you?
I am, yeah. At Cat Hostick. Just hit me up on Instagram. It's where I put all my updates and everything. It's the best way to keep in touch.
Do you have dog pictures on there?
Dog pictures?
Yeah.
I don't. I have a lot of, I post a lot of animal stories, but I don't have a dog.
All right.
Because I can't have a dog. I work too much. I work 12, 14-hour days. The dog.
I know that it bugs me when people have dogs and don't have the time to take care of them. Just let somebody else take care of them.
I know. Well, that's why I just can't have a dog, because it's just not fair to the dog. I want to spend time with the dog, otherwise.
Right.
So I don't know.
You gotta train the dog, bring him on set.
Yes. I am a really good dog trainer, though. I am the dog whisperer. Genuinely.
See, that's a skill.
It is. We'll talk about it next
time. Yeah. Next time we're talking about that, because that's a skill. All right, Kat, hold on one second. Really enjoyed that one, Cat Hostick. Just lovely. Talented director and actress. I don't know how she does all of the things she does, including writing. That's really impressive. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll definitely bring her back for sure. Really had a good time speaking with her. If this is your first time listening or watching us, and you say, these guys aren't so bad, maybe we'd like to help them out. It's real simple to do. If you're watching, you can go to YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. Just subscribe. It's free, gives you access to all of our videos. There's about 500 of them. Some of the, my opinion, we have the best guest list out there. Just an amazing group of talented individuals. Cat fits right in there with them. So definitely check us out there. If you're listening, whatever podcast platform you're using, just subscribe there. That'll help us out. You can find all 500 of our episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. So please check that out as well. If we're doing anything in studio, going on location, covering a convention, if Brett has written a new blog entry, whatever we have going on, it'll be on the website, meistercon.com. So thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.